Hey Mike, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Cool drum kit you've got behind you there?
Oh, yeah. The Menza and the electronic kits there, too.
Wow. So, you must be tired, eh? You had a gig last night?
Yeah, and Friday as well.
Wow. So I'm glad
Yeah,
I'm glad you could find the time to talk to us. Really appreciate that.
yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, man.
No worries. So which band are you in now? You're in, is it Jack Sixth?
Jack Sith.
Yeah.
It's sort of a play on words. Jack shit.
Yeah.
We're all fans.
So what kind of...
Yeah, that's it's just a working band. We do like AC/DC, ZZ Top, radio stuff,
All right,
just
cool.
bar band. And then I'm with Dark Vintages, which is another cover band, but that does like classic metal, like Old Sabbath, Old Maiden, and then Prismind, which is original, like Megadeth, Dream Theater
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
I've listened to some of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So how long's Prismind been going for?
Since about probably around 2012 or 2013.
Oh, okay.
In that area.
Cool. So did that get interrupted because of the Annihilator gig?
Not interrupted. Well, sort of interrupted, but it just took a long time to finish everything.
Okay.
We started recording the album 3 years ago, and we're just finishing it now. So that sort of slowed things down. But
Okay. Is that because like what's held that up? Is just like everyone got jobs and it's difficult to get time to do it, or?
Yeah. Well, everybody in the band has their own thing. Like the bass player has a U2 tribute band that's pretty successful. The guitar player plays with Steve Negus from Saga, and he's doing a project called Symfinity with a couple guys from Scar Symmetry and some stuff like that. So
Right.
everyone's got their own stuff going on. So it takes a while to write and record and get everything done, sort of thing.
So when do you think the album will be done?
It is done.
Oh, it's done.
And,
Right, cool.
Yeah, it's done now. We just we finished the drums right before Christmas in that area, and we just tracked the rest. And we're waiting to just finish the artwork and that sort of stuff. So just the final touches, sort of thing. I think it's going to be out in the next 2 or 3 months, hopefully.
Ah, cool. So you're doing like any kind of tour to promote it then?
Yeah, nothing planned yet, but we'll see what happens. We don't know we have a CD release party for sure, and then no tour plans yet, but hopefully.
Ah, cool. So I wanted to talk to how I don't know the story of how did you get the gig in Annihilator in the first place? How did it come about, and what were you doing prior to that?
I was playing in a few bands around here. The one that actually got me in touch with Annihilator was I was playing with a Canadian band called War Machine,
Right.
and that is who Alberto Campuzano, who was playing bass for War Machine at the time, or Annihilator at the time, is in War Machine.
Right.
And I was sort of playing with those guys, and I would give them a ride back home after each jam. And I sort of was talking to him. I wanted a bigger gig, and I was just sort of complaining to him, I guess, saying like, "Oh man, I got to get a big gig. I want to tour and this and that." And he was in Annihilator at the time, and he said, "Well, why don't you do a couple videos for my blog, like Annihilator covers, and then maybe that's sort of a way I can show Jeff without you just giving them straight to me, and me trying to show Jeff, sort of a subtle way of getting him to see me." And they actually had Flo Mornier from Cryptopsy playing with them at the time.
Right.
And he sort of told Jeff, like, "Hey, look, I can't do this full time. This is just like, I've got too much going on with Cryptopsy." So he was sort of asking him to find somebody else. So it sort of worked out timing-wise, and Jeff saw my videos, and so did Flo, which was kind of cool, and they both thought they were pretty cool. So Jeff asked me, I think I did Betrayed from the self-titled album.
Right.
And then he asked for 3 or 4 more videos, so I did like Welcome to Your Death and Set the World on Fire, and one more. I forget what the other one was. 21.
We were just watching some of the YouTube ones that you did before, where you did what was it? Set the World on Fire into,
I think it was No Zone.
No Zone, was it? I don't know if you did that.
Into Welcome to Your Death.
I don't know if you did that afterwards.
Right, okay.
Did you do that afterwards, or those are the ones that you were talking about?
Those I think I did those afterwards. Those weren't the actual audition ones.
Because those are really cool videos.
Yeah, those ones are cool. I actually had someone come over and help me out with those ones. The one I did for Jeff were just like rough, like did it myself sort of thing.
But they worked though.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So then what happened? So then did Jeff get in touch with you, or?
Yeah, actually, it was crazy because he called me and said, "Hey, look, I saw and I like the videos. Would you be interested in doing a show in Dubai with us?"
Wow, that sounds like
I
a
was
wind up.
Straight in.
Yeah, so I was like, "Hell yeah, of course, that's amazing!" Like, it ended up not happening,
Right.
which was a total disappointment. And because it was before I actually joined, I was like all paranoid, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't get the gig. He's not calling me back. Blah blah blah. It's probably my fault or something." And so I didn't hear back from him. But then he called me back about 2 weeks later, and he said, "Yeah, sorry, the gig didn't work out. But would you want to do the 70,000 tons of metal cruise with us?"
Ah, yeah.
And that was 2012, and that was the first gig I did with them.
That's a cool first gig. It's a cool gig anyway, but it's a cool first gig.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what was that like?
That was awesome. I'd say that's easily one of the coolest festivals going these days. Like, it's besides being unique, it's like a vacation. Like you're never going to get a vacation like that, surrounded by metalheads and metal music. And
Yeah. So how long were you on there for versus, and how much time were you playing versus what were you doing the other time? Just chilling out and drinking beer, or?
Yeah, pretty much. We had a lot of free time actually because you only play 2 sets.
Right. How long is the cruise?
I think it's 4 or 5 days. Yeah, it was
Okay.
5 days, I think. But yeah, we just played 2 sets, and the rest of the time just hung out. It was pretty cool.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then I did the cruise again with them in 2015.
Right.
And that's when Jeff had started the All-Star Jam thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we were a little busier that time because we had the All-Star Jam one night as well as 2 shows. But still, like,
Yeah.
3 shows in 5 days, and you're on a cruise. It's not much work.
That's pretty cool. So after you joined and you did the first cruise, then how long did you, before you went to the studio to do new stuff then? Because was it Feast that you recorded on? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Feast. How long was that?
Did you do some like more touring before you went to the studio, or?
Yeah. We did. I don't think it was till the year later.
Right.
It was towards the end of 2013 when we were doing the Feast stuff because we did. I had my first summer with them doing a festival run, and we went to Europe and did. I forget what festivals we did that summer. I think we went to Bulgaria and did Loudfest.
Did you do Wacken?
No, not yet. That was 2013.
Ah, right, yeah.
That was the following year. But yeah, we did some cool festivals. Played with Slayer and Testament and Sabbath. I think like we played some pretty crazy bands. It was a pretty fun summer.
So when you're thinking back to that car when you were complaining to that guy about wanting a bigger gig, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for sure.
I noticed there's a lot of you have a lot of drum cam video, like cameras on you. Is that something you try to do a lot then to make sure you get like a document of what you've been doing?
Yeah, it was. That was actually something I started with Annihilator.
Okay.
I guess with the nature of Annihilator, right? It's everybody's more so interested in Jeff than everybody else, right? So it's
yeah.
So being the drummer and being an Annihilator, like, so there's still pictures and stuff, but I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to start getting some of my own footage to just capture stuff for myself, sort of thing.
Yeah, we were watching some of them just before. Some of your drum cam ones are pretty cool.
Oh, nice! Thanks, man.
Especially when you can see the crowd from in front of you. You can see the crowd going mental. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Those are the kind of gigs that you dream about.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing is the audio is sometimes a little crappy because it's just a GoPro. But
yeah. Well, those are getting a lot better these days. The sound quality on them. I've seen some of the ones that you've had of not too bad actually. They capture the moment anyway, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. I guess it depends on the how the monitors are because sometimes I'll put it on top of the monitor and then like the kick going through the monitor, and that's what I want to hear the most. So it's just like pounding the camera and the camera's shaking, and so it depends where you put the camera, I guess. But yeah, they're not that bad.
Yeah. So what was it like then? Your first time going to record with Annihilator and working with Jeff?
It was definitely interesting. It wasn't. It was always a bit of a rush. Right. It wasn't like here's some riffs. Like he never sent me riffs, which
that's interesting.
Bothered me, to be honest. It was always like I went to his place and we sort of worked on what he had already, sort of thing.
Okay, so it's not kind of the way you're used to working.
Yeah. No, what I've always been used to is the guitar player will basically write the whole song or a big chunk of it and then send it to me. And then I'll add my parts and then make any suggestions for changes in arrangements or whatever. And then me and the guitar player will basically finish the song together, and then everybody else will add their parts. Whereas in Annihilator, it's very much Jeff doing pretty much everything except for singing. But now he's singing, so he's doing that too.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say, because like the lineup when you were there included like Dave Padden as well. What was he like? He seemed like a cool guy.
Yeah, Dave's hilarious. He's a very funny guy. Definitely witty would probably be the best word to describe him. Yeah, very funny guy.
Yeah, because I met you. I saw you in the Glasgow. That's when I met you, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
That was cool. But when I got the tickets, I was like, oh, but Dave's not going to be there. I was just want to see Dave.
Yeah.
Such a cool guy.
Yeah, Dave was awesome. Like the stuff that he could sing while he was playing was
just incredible. Those riffs are not easy riffs to play on their own, never mind trying to sing over them. Yeah,
and most of the stuff, like we, like the longer I was with him, the harder stuff we started doing.
It's like a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the stuff is like recorded in 95 or 93 or whatever on Set the World, where they had just a singer. So when they wrote and recorded this stuff, they weren't thinking of like, when he's doing No Zone, he's like, I got to sing over this. He's just like, oh, we got a singer. And now all of a sudden Dave's trying to sing and play all this stuff. And it's like,
it's cool that he can do it.
It was funny to watch because there was some frustrating moments, but he pulled it off pretty good.
Yeah. So what was when you started when you were auditioning for Annihilator and stuff, was the drumming of those songs, was it a challenge to you, or was it did you find it quite easy to adjust to playing that kind of stuff?
The challenges for sure, but my favorite band has always been Megadeth, and that's what I play the most. Okay. And when I heard Annihilator, I was like, this is basically Canadian Megadeth. So it was
yeah, that's a
pretty
fair comparison.
Easy transition for the most part. But there's some stuff in Annihilator where it's very mid-tempo.
Yeah,
and it's not too fast, not too slow. And for the double kick, you can almost play it with 1 foot or with 2. It's just like you have to play it slow with 2, or you have to play it pretty quick with 1. And that was the weird little middle area for me. But that actually helped me a lot because now that area is
you
like
got that down now. Yeah,
point. Yeah.
I know that I was watching one of your videos and you were doing. It sounded like you were playing double, but you were only using 1 foot. I was like, "Whoa, that's quite good control there." And then sometimes you would switch to using both. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was that No Way Out?
Yeah,
that song was a bitch.
Nah, that's cool. So, so how long did it take to record Feast then? Was it a lengthy process or?
Not really. It was pretty quick actually. Like I think Jeff had a lot of the riffs that he was working on over the summer and then towards Christmas, and then it came together really quickly. Like I came to his house and he had all the drum feels like sort of mapped out, and then we like came up with the fills and actual kick drum patterns and stuff together. But it was pretty quick. It was always like, the record label needs a CD, let's get it done. It was always a panic.
That kind of pressure, yeah. A lot of the older Annihilator stuff's got a lot of double kick in it anyway, hasn't it? I noticed, like, if you think like King of the Kill, it's almost double kick all the way through the entire song.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That would be quite challenging, but once you once you start playing it, it just becomes second nature, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's I mean, like any band, you start to get to know the tricks, and then you realize that they use a lot of the tricks in different ways. So and the more you play it, it gets easier, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I noticed because they did remastered, you did some of the older songs, you re-recorded some of the older songs, like King of the Kill, and for the bonus disc, and I thought they came out really cool. Some of them were better than the original. I thought the quality was superb.
Yeah, and Dave's singing on some of it is like ridiculous.
Yeah, it was cool to hear him sing King of the Kill. Actually, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's why Jeff did it, because he didn't know Dave was going to leave. So it was sort of like he was playing those songs for so long, and Dave was singing them. He's like, you know what, we should remaster them, re-record them, and re-release them so people are familiar with like what the new lineup sounds doing them, sort of thing. But then obviously the lineup didn't stick around. But it was still a cool thing while it lasted.
Because I don't know how long Dave was in the band, but he was in for quite a long time.
I think it was around
11 years.
11 years.
11 years, wow.
Was it 2004? I think he joined, maybe.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So then, So then, when that came out, then you did a fairly lengthy tour to promote Feast, didn't you?
Yeah, that was probably my first like real bus tour. Like we'd been on a bus before, but this was the first time where we were like living on a bus for like more than a month, sort of thing.
Was that pretty much?
And
was that pretty much like the bus that when we met you, because we were on your bus then? That was pretty much the same as back then.
Yeah, it was. I think it was actually literally the exact same bus, that red car bus.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's good times.
Yeah, good times. Yeah,
Memories.
it's a cool venue, that. But so then you got to go pretty much. Did you go all over the world pretty much then?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, the only place we really didn't tour was North America. Well, we didn't really do any Asia other than Russia, if you want to call that Asia.
Yeah, Jeff's always said there's always been a bit of a thing about getting into North America. They don't seem to take to Annihilator as much. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's stuff behind the scenes of whatever happened with record labels and this and that, but they've had trouble getting label support for whatever reason over here. But they're doing a Canadian tour this summer, so see if that turns it around for them.
Pretty lengthy tour they've got coming up.
Yeah.
So then if that was your first taste of like being in a big international band, that must have been pretty. You're pinching yourself sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely when you're like arriving at the airport and there's people waiting for you and they know who you are and they have like. My favorite was when people would actually like print off pictures of me from before I was in Annihilator.
So they've done the research on you.
Yeah, they're in like Google and they have like a picture of me from like when I used to play in a band called Profaner. And before that, it was called Nexus, and we were like just kids. I was like 16 years old. Then people were bringing pictures of that band. I'm like, how did people know this exists? Like, so that was kind of cool.
That is quite cool. Yeah, because it puts you on that big stage, doesn't it? More people know who you are, and they sort of want to find out about you and meet you, as like we did in Glasgow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely an amazing experience.
So, how long were you in Annihilator for? Was it 3 years?
I think it was 4.
4 years.
I joined at the end of 2011, and I left at the beginning of 2016.
Okay, right. I didn't realize. I thought it was earlier than that. Yeah. So what happened when you started getting the ideas for the next album after Feast? Then is that when you'd sort of is that when things started to change?
Well, I think as soon as my fiance got pregnant, I think Jeff started to get worried.
Okay, yeah.
I think he questioned my my devotion.
Right.
Like right from when that happened, I think he was a little panicked by it, and I think right from there, I think he might have started looking at other options because he thought
because your priorities kind of changed.
Gonna leave, or that I was going to leave, or he was going to have to replace me. So I remember telling him that my fiance was pregnant. I told him we were judging a Vakken battle in Toronto together.
Yeah,
and I remember telling him that night, and I just remember being so like worried because like my devotion hadn't changed to the band at all. Like I still like my dreams of playing with Annihilator, touring the world, and everything had not changed at all. They still haven't. But I think that was like the very beginning of things changing a bit, and then as the year went on, we had some tours booked or whatever, which was all good. And I ended up being away for about 6 months of the 9 months of my fiance's pregnancy. Which is a bit hard on her for sure, but she was amazingly supportive through it, and I ended up we only had one vacation booked the whole year to go to my cottage together, and that was like our time to like sort of get away.
Yeah.
And Jeff wanted me to like last second he wanted me to come over to Ottawa to film like this MTV Cribs thing or something like that, and it wasn't paid, and it was last second, and he wanted me to cancel my vacation, and I like, and whenever Jeff asked me to do something, I always said yes. I was just like, okay. So I said yes, and I called my fiance, and she hung up on me and wouldn't talk to me because she was like, she was upset by it because this was like our one time that we're getting away. I ended up going to Jeff like pretty distraught and upset about it, and I think that was like another tell for him that he thought he was like, okay, the kid's not even here yet, and he's already like. But my thing was like, it's not a show, it's not paid, it's last second. It's like, and I've already been away for 6 months from my fiance's pregnancy, so it was, that was another step. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's understandable.
Sorry. But then we started talking about the new record, and of course he said, yeah, like we hadn't done real drums yet. Like everything that has been done was either like part E kit or programmed through Superior or whatever.
So is that
like,
what All Feast was?
Yes, Feast
okay,
is programmed.
Right. So that must be quite frustrating for you then, because you would want to actually be on the album, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that was a big thing between us for sure.
What about
and
the
it was
Rico
always
songs?
like it was always a thing of money or time. It was always like I said with Feast, it was like all of a sudden they needed a record and we had to have it done, and we didn't have time like for him to send me riffs or me to record drums or like, so it was like, and then it happened all over again. Like same thing. He was like at the end of Feast, he's like, "Don't worry, man. Next time we're gonna record real drums. You got to get real drums going." Blah blah blah. Because he's been programming the drums other than Randy Black since '94. Like nothing is really real.
Yeah.
King of the Kill is real with the hands, but the feet are programmed. Like Randy recorded. Actually, Randy recorded real cymbals, and the rest is programmed.
Okay.
But so he had that sort of approach for a long time, and obviously as a drummer, I wanted to record.
Yeah.
And so the new record was coming up, and he said, "Yes, finally we're doing it. We're going to do it this time." And so it came time to write, and he calls me, and he goes, "Okay, yeah, we got to write or whatever." And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to send me some riffs, like a Dropbox file or something. And he goes, "I need you to record 150 metal drum beats and then send this to me." And I'm like, what? What do you mean? He was like, "Yeah, just like come up with some really cool beats, like try it on the ride and then the hi-hat and then the crash for each verse." I'm like, 150 of these? I'm like, I don't think there was 150 beats on the last Annihilator record. Like, to come up with 150 beats that are actually cool, that aren't just generic, like
just doing it for the sake of it,
with no music. It's like, and then he's probably going to take the drums and edit them and chop them up, and then we're probably not going to record them anyways. You know what I mean? He's got the ideas. He's just going to program them from that point. So it was like, I just basically didn't do it. And I didn't say no, because I didn't want to say no. So I didn't know what to say. So I'm like this is ridiculous. And then he was getting frustrated with me because I hadn't sent him anything. And then it's just like, and it ended up getting to the point where he was just like, "Look, I'm going to have to find somebody else to do it if you're not." And then I guess that's what he did.
Right.
But it was just like, it was frustrating for me because that's not how you write a record, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, as the drummer, you'd want to be on the album, whatever's going on.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, obviously Jeff knows more about making music than I do, but like for a great song, like I think to come up with a great drum beat, you got to hear the guitar first, right? Or like,
you gotta...
maybe you come up with one basic beat or something, but like you're going to come up with a lot of your cool ideas once the guitar player starts doing his thing, right?
I think it works both ways. Like for me, like coming up with riffs, I come up with equally come up with riffs on your own, but also if someone's put down a really good backbeat, that helps you come up with riffs as well. It kind of works both ways. You need a bit of both, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be like a back and forth, right?
Yeah, you need to mix it up. But if you have to just keep, like, if I had to just come up with riffs just with me and a guitar, it would probably be less productive than if I did some of that, and then other times I went with the drummer and we tried to come up with a beat and a guitar riff together. I think you need a bit of both, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we had a bit of a disconnect on that, and then it was funny actually. I had a recording unit of his that was it's like a field recorder that we were using to play all the tracks, because I played all the tracks and I did all the clicks and stuff from behind the drums. So I had that, and he asked me to overnight it back, because he's like, I got, somebody hired me to record something. I need it. I'm gonna make some money. You got to overnight it to me. I need it tomorrow. Blah blah blah. And like, that was a sign for me that something's up, because Jeff, I'd never heard of him doing like field recording work, like. So I sent that back to him, overnighted him, and he actually asked me to be a witness for his relationship with his fiance at the time, because she was from Slovenia and she was trying to get into the country.
Okay.
So I did the whole, like, go down to the lawyer, get an affidavit and get it signed, blah blah blah, and signed it. I overnighted that to him as well, and then as soon as he got those two packages, I got an email from him letting me go.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, that definitely left a bitter taste in my mouth.
I don't think if it was going to continue, like the methods of recording with you not actually doing drums, I don't know how long you would have wanted to continue doing that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like I sat down with my Yamaha rep, and like for the most part, like Jeff doesn't like to tell people that they're programmed drums. He tries to just sort of pass it off like they're.
To be fair, he does a very good job, but they do sound pretty cool.
yeah, sure. They do sound great. So he just doesn't make a note of it. Like he obviously credits them in the booklet, like for tune tracks and whatever. Like he doesn't try and totally hide it, but he tries to be sort of subtle about it.
Yeah. So then, what did you do after that then? Did you take some time off? Because you obviously had the baby, so that would make sense to do that.
Yeah, I sort of took some time off without really
planning to.
Yeah, it's sort of because I didn't expect that to happen, right? So I was pretty devastated, to be honest. So I didn't accomplish much in 2016 other than
you had a child, so
yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah, but yeah, musically I was pretty. I should have gotten a lot done, but I just sort of. I wasn't inspired for pretty much the whole year, which sort of sucks to say. I mean, I did some cool stuff with my other band, so I shouldn't say I wasn't totally inspired, but I wasn't going above and beyond like I usually do with it.
I suppose it's a bit of a come down as well, isn't it? To come down, you're up there, and then you've got to sort of readjust after all that.
Yeah, it's like playing Vakken and then playing like a bar sort of thing.
They're both fun, but they're just a bit different.
Yeah. I've always done the bar thing in between, but it was always like, okay, in a couple months, I'm going back to the Vakken level thing. You know what I mean?
You've always had something on the horizon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And hopefully there's still something on the horizon at this point, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
So what are your plans now looking forward then in terms of like what level do you want to be at, or where do you want to get to?
Oh, I definitely like to get back to that level, like touring and playing with a band of that stature, but for now I sort of switched gears because it was almost at the point where because me and my fiance are getting married in September,
right?
And our daughter is turned 1 at the beginning of this year, and we're talking about possibly having another at some point. So it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, all right, I got to figure out some money, sort of thing. And there's a big steel factory here called DeFasco,
right?
And it's a huge employer for this area. That's like where my dad works. And so it was like almost like looking like I might have to go there. And that's like 12-hour days, like music's over at that point. And then I was just like, you know what? I think I've come too far to friggin' go back now. So I basically switched gears. I started teaching, which has gone really well. We started Jack Sith, and Dark Vintages, which was Kelly Karaluk and John Mamoni are the singer and guitar player of Prismind.
All right,
and it was our idea to branch off and do some other stuff just to make money and keep ourselves sharp for other gigs, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we started Jack Sith, which was going great, and then we ended up getting contact by the singer from a band called Entropy, and a guitar player from a band called Varga. And they wanted to do the Dark Vintages thing. So we started that. And so I'm doing Prismind, Dark Vintages, Jack Sith. And then I'm filling in with another bar band. And I'm talking right now about doing some stuff with a Motorhead tribute band that's fairly successful in this area. And so things are starting to come together a bit more over here. I think I've got a gig or two every weekend until the end of June. So,
wow! And to have like a fiance and a child as well to fit it in. Busy man.
And then teaching during the week and practicing drums and doing whatever else. So it's starting to pick up again, which is nice because 2016 was a bit of a lull.
Yeah. So you're teaching that. Is that like people locally one-on-one, or do you do like video online teaching as well?
I've thought about it. I haven't done any Skype yet, but it's definitely a possibility. Right now, I'm just doing just students in the area, one-on-one sort of thing.
Okay.
I only took on a few. I think I have 7 students right now, just because I've never really taught before. So I'm just sort of finding my way. And
yeah, it's kind of weird. I've had this with guitar lessons as well. You're sort of teaching yourself how to teach.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Because you never. I don't know about you, but like sometimes you've never sat down and thought, what do I do? How do I do that? You just kind of do it because you've done it for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Like the way I think of it in my head is not always like
It's how do you,
stats.
yeah, it's how do you
You know,
explain that to someone that they're going to understand?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But it's been good. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and now that I've actually started, I'm really loving it because it makes me a better player and it forces me to push myself mentally, which is
yeah.
awesome.
Keeps your skills up to scratch as well, doesn't it? You don't sort of rest on anything.
Yeah, and right now I'm doing 100% music all the time, so
Yeah. Well,
that's also a bonus.
yeah, it's lucky to be doing something that you enjoy because a lot of people, well, say most people have jobs that they don't necessarily enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely happy.
So you still technically, even though you're doing all this, you would still be you are sort of available if a bigger band sort of came and offered you some work.
Yeah, for sure. That's I mean, over the next year, I'm probably gonna just like churn out a ton of YouTube videos and just try and get my name out there. And yeah, if anybody needs a touring drummer or whatever, I'm hoping to get a gig like that. The
Yeah.
the one good thing with the teaching is if I got a touring gig and I was gone for say 3 weeks or a month or whatever, I could explain to the students, and since they're musicians or like trying to be
I think they'd
musicians or
understand.
whatever, like they're gonna understand, right?
Yeah, totally.
And if they don't, then it's like I don't understand why
yeah,
you're.
yeah, exactly. They're in the wrong business. That's cool. So, your teaching is going well. You've got 3 or 4 bands on the go. So you're just keeping yourself busy. I'm guessing you're a person who doesn't like to be sat around not doing much. It kind of drives you insane.
Yeah, definitely.
So so how long do you think? Do you think teaching will be? You think you'll always do teaching then, or do you think that's just something that you're doing while everything else is sort of keep things ticking over, or do you think you'll enjoy? Do you enjoy it more than you thought you would?
I'm definitely enjoying it more than I thought I would, and I thought I would enjoy it. I guess I was nervous, like we said before, because I'm like, am I going to be able to teach these kids properly and get like their money's worth, sort of thing? I never want them to go home and feel like they didn't get what they paid for, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely enjoying it. I guess it's up in the air, right? I think I plan to do it long term, but I mean, if I get a full-time touring gig or something like that, I'm not going to turn that down.
No, definitely not. Hey, you should do some more. You should do some more of your YouTube videos because they're really cool. I remember I think before you joined Annihilator, I'd come across a couple of them. And I thought those were really cool.
That's neat.
but yeah, you should definitely. I think that helps your cause a lot more especially when because like the Annihilator ones, there was a perfect mix between what you were playing in the recorded track, and it sounded really good. It shows people that you can nail those tracks.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely good to sort of build a portfolio, right? So then if somebody questions if you can play or not, like at this point, I don't need to go to their house and show them. I can send them like 10 links.
Yeah.
And
much easier.
yeah.
Yeah. So have you got any current endorsements then with certain various companies?
Yeah, I'm endorsed with Yamaha drums, Remo drum skins, Los Cabos drumsticks, and I have sort of like a half deal with Paiste cymbals.
Okay, right.
So my Yamaha Canadian rep does distribution for Paiste,
right?
So I'm like sort of in with him. Like I actually started. That was my last endorsement, which I was about to get, and they let go of their or he left. I don't know what happened, but their North American artist rep.
Right.
So there was nobody there to do the signing at the time, and my artist rep was like, "Man, just keep playing the cymbals and touring. You'll get the deal. Don't worry." And then I left Annihilator, so we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
But I love the cymbals, so I'm going to stick with them.
Yeah. So that kit behind you, is that one you use just at home, or does it go anywhere with you, or has it been anywhere with you?
The electronic kit, I don't know if you can see it. That one.
Oh, right, yeah. I didn't realize it was an electronic kit. I just see the top of it.
Me. But the Menza doesn't go anywhere like that one.
Okay, yeah. I love those hanging cymbals.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, eh?
Awesome.
It could go somewhere, but I mean, it's more of like a backline. I mean, it was designed by a guy named Greg Volker for like Whitesnake and Megadeth when they're playing like arenas. So it's
right. Yeah. Nick Menza loved those hanging cymbals, didn't he? He always had those.
Yeah, this one actually is one of his.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the bottom half I actually bought from from somebody who had purchased it off Nick at a NAMM festival.
Right.
And he had it on Kijiji or whatever, and I don't know how I stumbled on this thing, and it was in Chicago of all places, which is about 9 hours from where I am. So I agreed to buy this thing, and then realized like it's going to cost me like $1,500 to get it here. And luckily, like my father works at that steel company I was telling you about, and he had a truck that was already down there, and we luckily just got lucky with putting it on that truck and just bringing it back up for free. But so I only had the bottom half.
Right.
Nick wouldn't sell him the top half. He kept it. And I was like I don't even want to use this thing without the top half. That's the cool part. So I got in contact with one of my best friends who's actually an engineer. And then we both got in contact with somebody who had a full Menza rack. It was a guy named Chad Wall, who's he's in Quebec.
Right.
You've probably seen him on the internet too. He's one of those popular drummer guys. He goes by Captain Kill Drums.
Yeah.
So I went to his house, and he basically let my buddy write down all the specs for it and all the measurements and everything. And my friend brought home all his plans or whatever, took it to a shop and fabricated it, and it turned out like absolutely perfectly. We even made a couple adjustments to it. Like I don't know if you can see from here. Like there's the back of it on mine has a double brace.
Okay.
Like it has two bars. On most of the Menza racks, it only has one.
Right.
Like I know Nick has a couple of his own that have two, so I copied that because like there's actually 2 slot holes because there's a built-in riser that all the stuff comes out of.
All right. Cool.
So it had the slots for it already, so we just added it. But it's pretty neat though. It's like my own custom Megadeth rack.
That's awesome. Our drummer will be watching this episode with great interest, looking at your kit. So when you joined Annihilator, then did you already have a good enough kit? Did you have to buy any more, or did they just give you a kit, or for going on tour and stuff?
I already had a huge kit. I had basically what you see behind me, but it was Tama and Zabian. Okay. I ended up switching over because I ended up liking Yamaha better, and same with the cymbals. But it was I already had everything. It was my main kit, and even this one is they're based off of Mike Portnoy's Purple Monster from Dream Theater.
Right. Yeah.
If you know that.
Yeah.
And my first kit was a Thomas Star Classic, and it literally was the exact specs to his, like 4 rack toms same size, 3 floor toms same size. The only thing that was different was I had smaller kick drums, but I've always had a fairly big kit.
Yeah, I've noticed. Some that you got so many things. I'm like, does he use every single bit of that kit?
Yeah, for sure. Get asked.
So how old were you when you started playing drums then?
I think I was probably 13 or 14. I wasn't super young.
So what bands like inspired you to, or drummers inspired you to want to do that?
Funnily enough, Lars Ulrich was probably the main one at first.
Yeah.
I before I even played drums at all, I saw. Have you ever seen what's it called? The Year in a Life of Metallica.
Yeah.
That documentary for Black Album. It's got like the 2. It was a VHS at the time, the double VHS.
Of course. Yeah.
And I just watched that, and I was just like, man, I want to be in a band. This is so awesome. And I started on guitar actually, and I didn't like it like at all.
I was the other way around. I started on drums, and I liked it, but I couldn't do it. So I tried guitar, and it worked better.
Yeah, same for me. The small finger movements and getting used, I was like, this is beyond frustrating. But yeah, so I had 3 friends who played in a band sort of thing, and they were basically who I spent all my time with. And when they had band practice, I was just like sitting at home watching a movie, like looking at my watch, like when's their band practice going to end? Sort of thing. So yeah, that was the one guy suggested, like, why don't you try playing an instrument, try playing guitar or whatever. Yeah, and I tried guitar, it didn't work out. And then the drummer actually said, why don't you try drums? You might like that. And I started playing, and I loved it instantly.
Yeah.
And he actually sold me his old kit, and then I started getting drum lessons with him, like going with him to another teacher. And so it was definitely him. His name was John, and he was one of my best buddies, so he definitely got me into it. And then from there, it was just like I couldn't get enough. And yeah, from Lars, it went from Metallica. He introduced me to Dream Theater, and then once I saw Portnoy, it was all over.
That's pretty good influence. So what other bands were you into? So you into Pantera?
Megadeth, big time.
The T-shirt.
Yeah, that was Pantera for sure. Who else? Like Pink Floyd, The Who, Led Zeppelin. Then I like Children of Bodom, In Flames. Lots of stuff.
Cool.
Like pretty much nothing I don't like unless it's like on the radio for the most part.
Yeah,
I agree. Classic rock.
And most mainstream stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So have you put any CDs out with any of your older bands then? Did you get to that level of putting stuff out?
Yeah, actually. It's sort of frustrating because with two of the bands, I left before we did the official release, so I never really got to enjoy the actual releasing. But the one's called Profaner, and they actually, I left to play in a band called Mastery,
right.
And Mastery was a progressive thrash metal band with. Have you ever heard of Billy Milano?
I don't think so. No.
He's Anthrax, obviously, right?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, Anthrax did a side project, if you don't know about it, in like the 80s, early 90s, I think it was called Stormtroopers of Death, SOD.
Right, yeah.
And Billy Milano was the singer of that. And he was singing for Mastery, so that was sort of, that was the connection to that. But that was a pretty neat band, actually. And we went down to Texas and wrote and recorded a CD. It was 12 songs long, I think. It was called In the Key of Kill. And there was 3 of them in Texas and 2 of us in Canada, so it was like we needed like a huge record deal to like make it even work. And we had a few record labels interested. We asked for too much money, and they basically didn't counter offer, and we blew it.
Oh.
Yeah, but and that CD is like for free online. I should actually send you the link to it because it's probably one of my most, like, I'm probably most proud of that. Like the drumming on that is actually pretty nuts.
So, there was something I've written a lot of things to talk to you about. There's something I've forgotten about. So, when you started, you remember what year was like your first band when you started doing gigs and stuff? What year was it and how old were you?
Trying to think of exactly what year it was. I know I was 16 or 17 because I wasn't old enough to be in the bars. I got the X's on the hands to play shows. So it was probably, I can't even remember what year it would be. It feels like so long ago. It probably wasn't even that long ago.
How long have you been? How long have you been doing music for then?
Probably 14 or 15 years, I think.
Cool.
So that was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah. So did you notice much like the difference? Because like the difference between like the underground scene in the UK and Canada. I don't know, because technically you're involved in that now because of the bands that you're in now. Yep. I don't know if you noticed much difference between what it was like in the UK to Canada.
Well, I wasn't too much in the underground scene while I was in the UK, right? With is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Just because Annihilator, we were just sort of in and out. We didn't really get to experience too much of. But I would like to experience it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Do you think you'll get over to the UK with any of the projects that you've got? Well, not just the UK, but any outside of Canada with the projects that you're working on now?
With Prismind, it could be a possibility. We haven't released.
That's the main one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, because the other ones, obviously, the cover bands we aren't really going anywhere.
No.
But two for sure. At the release, I mean, we've talked about like whether we're going to send it to labels or release it ourselves or what we're going to do. So we'll see if there's. We've had talks with some people that have like the band and want us to come over and play a festival in France and blah blah, blah and this and that, and like it's awesome, but unless we're getting paid at least some, it's like we're like the flights are astronomical, right, to fly across the ocean. So it's
getting your gear as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're in no position to be asking for huge numbers right now, so it's tough to get over there. But we'll see. Like if we could maybe get a festival and then line up some shows or whatever.
Yeah.
We could be able to make it work. We've talked about it. It's just got to get the CD out and get some merchandise to have something to sell over there, right? So
that's true. Yeah. So have you done many gigs? What's the furthest you've had to travel for a gig for Prismind then?
We haven't gone too far. I think I don't think we've gone outside of Ontario yet.
Oh, okay. Where did the name come from, by the way? I was going to ask you.
Prismind?
Yeah.
I actually came up with it somehow. It took us it took us forever to come up with a name. Like I'm not even joking. It probably took us like 2 months of just like talking on Facebook group chat like, hey, how about this? Nah, that's
there's always one person who doesn't like it, everyone else does, but like everyone's got to like it.
Yeah. And we came up with the idea. We wanted to come up with like 2 sort of cool words.
Yeah.
And put them together and have it sort of mean something to us.
Mm.
And the whole idea was like I liked Mind because obviously you're like the music that we play is very what's the word, thought intensive. A lot of attention to detail. So we wanted like something to do with the brain in the word. And then Prism, we sort of liked it because and this is like a stretch, but you know when light goes into a prism and then it comes out in colors.
Yeah, and at different angles
Yeah, there was the thought of that as like the light is like an idea or like one person's idea, whatever, and then like goes through the prism, which is the band, and then comes out like finished product sort of thing. And that's a stretch, but I mean, we put 2 cool words together and just tried to, like, we were at the point where it was like we'd come up with a name and it would be taken. And, and then it was so hard. And then we started making up joke names that were so bad, and they would be taken too. And everything. So like we actually like it got to the point where like we were going so mental that it's still a joke now that I was like, why don't we just be a Rammstein cover band and we'll call ourselves Rumpenstein? That's like that word Rumpenstein has like become like part of my vocabulary somehow.
That's your alternate name.
Yeah. Colonel Rumpenstein.
Yeah, because it's quite you need to do a bit of your research before you finally choose a name, I suppose, because obviously it could be trademarked, or there could be a million other bands with the same names, and plus you want people to be able to find you, because if you tell them the name and they search and you don't come up in the first page or 2, they're just going to give up, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had a bit of struggle with people saying the name properly.
Prismind.
They think it's Prismind because there's only one M, and I'm just like, it would have looked bad with 2 M's, so we left it out. But
that's what I used to call it.
It's getting better.
he's been calling it that.
I'm guilty of that. Sorry, I'll never call it that again.
I don't blame you. It's I don't blame you. We actually have a meme with Bart Simpson. You know when he writes on the chalkboard and says it's pronounced Prismind.
Because that board has been used for so many memes over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, kidding.
I love a good meme. Can't be a good meme every now and then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So who is in Prismind then?
It's me and Kelly Kierluck is the guitar player. Yeah. John Mamoni is the singer, and then Justin Farquhar is the bass player.
All right, cool. And where can people find you if they're looking for you?
They can find us on Facebook. Just Prismind. Search us. That's basically our...
I'm guessing because of the name, it's pretty easy to find them.
Yeah, exactly. That was the other reason we liked it. Something unique, right?
Yeah, that's half the battle, really, isn't it? Being able to be findable. So what about you? Are you still going to be doing... We talked about before this, you were going to do some more YouTube videos then, some drum covers and whatnot, because you obviously enjoy doing them and you get a lot of good feedback from them.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to start trying to pump them out this year. I have a bunch I always get a bunch, I always think of a bunch and then I practice them, and then by the time I get it down, I'm like, I'm bored of this. I'll film something else.
So you need to do it when you're sort of into it.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a couple funny ones. Do you know the those Star Wars lip reading videos?
Yes.
Have you seen the Yoda one where he sings that song to Luke on Dagobah?
Yeah.
Like I have a drum. I haven't filmed it yet, but I have like a drum video planned for that song.
Okay.
And I had it planned in like December when Rogue One was coming out, and I ended up doing 2 Trans-Siberian Orchestra covers instead, and then Star Wars came out, and I'm like, oh, I've totally lost like the wind that would have been behind the sails of this video.
Yeah, you're too late.
Yeah.
So what's your setup for your camp? How you do your drum videos these days?
I'm actually doing electric kit, so it's slightly different. Before I was using the acoustic kit, and then I was just using, I think, I was some camera audio on that No Zone video.
Yeah.
And then I had 2 overhead mics, and then 2 kick mics and a snare mic. But my computer outgrew that little unit that was helping the mics talk to my computer, so I don't really have a way to record acoustically right now. So I got to figure something else out. But I've been doing all e-kit,
right?
So I have it run into my computer, and then I'm using Addictive Drums, and then it's actually pretty amazing because I'm using Final Cut as well,
right?
And because the GoPro takes audio, I can import the GoPro video as well as. Well, if I have multiple angles, I can import them all, and then I import the audio as well, and then it will sync. It will sync the video based on the audio.
Right.
So it just syncs everything up perfectly. It's awesome, and then so I don't have to worry. Like my biggest problem before was like recording it and then trying to sync up the audio, and like because I didn't know what I was doing at first, so I would record the song audio separately, like it would be on a separate track, and then I would have my drum audio, and then the video. So there was 3 tracks that I would just have to try and line up in iMovie, and it was like so impossible. Like I wanted to like kill somebody trying to do those videos, and now it's just like I import it into Final Cut. I do the multicam thing. It lines up all the, and then I literally just sit there, and it plays the one video. You pick which one it starts on, and you just hit. I forget which button it is, but you just hit a button as it's going, and you watch it live, and you can change all the camera angles as you're watching it.
That's
so
cool.
If you're just watching, you're like, all right, here's the cool drum fill, like press a button, and then it doesn't have to be exact because you can go back and like move did the edit. You can see where you want all the edits, so
that's cool.
That is
perfect
so
for drums because sometimes you want a close up on the your footwork.
Yeah, exactly. So that's made it easier, and I'm just trying to simplify it as much as possible because I want to just be able to pump them out.
Yeah. So, and you were telling me you like the latest Dynamo CD? Yeah,
it's awesome, man. I've been handed a lot of demos and CDs and stuff like over the Annihilator days. So and some have been awesome and some have been not so. But I never know what to expect, and I put your CD on, and I was like, man, this sounds like just as good as like the last Megadeth record, like sound quality. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'll have to give Matt Ellis, the producer, some. I'll let him know that you're a fan of his work.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, man, it's appreciate you giving us your time to talk to us. It's been a pleasure.